massive organizations, and, you know, it's very difficult to get any sum of money. And, you know, of course, for the Lupus Foundation, we want to end lupus, and that's something that's going to cost us a lot of money. But I think there's ways as team captains, as fundraisers, through the walk, that people can leverage their employers. So for this segment, we're going to talk to Shauna, and we're going to talk to Rasheda, and I'm going to start with Shauna. So Shauna, you have been a great fundraiser for Richmond. Do you want to talk a little bit about your strategy when raising corporate money? Shauna? I think we might have lost Shauna. If you join in, please chime in. But Shauna uses something called matching gifts. And I think, you know, many of us have heard of them. For some of us, it's an odd concept. Maybe our company doesn't match the gifts that we raise. For other companies, they're very generous. They may match 2 to 1. 3 to 1, and there's some companies that even match as much as 5 to 1. It's an effort by companies to make sure that you know, they're recognizing that you're supporting your community, and they're going to support you in those efforts for the causes that are important to you. I think the tricky thing with matching gifts is making sure that your friends and family and donors who have companies who match are able to fill out that form and successfully get the donation through. So I'm going to jump a little to Rasheda. And Rasheda, you've been very successful in New York in leveraging corporate contacts. You talked a little bit about this, but, you know, what are the ways that you get money from corporations?
Yeah, so for me, again, I work at Fox Sports, Fox Entertainment. So there are about 10 to 15 divisions that fall under us. So I tap there first. Many people know that I walk. A lot of people do not know that I have lupus. They just know that I do philanthropic work, and they're so happy to support. Then I also look at every corporation that I deal with, and you have relationships. So if I'm working on an event and I have, you know, Dr. Pepper, and I deal with all of those clients, and you start that conversation, and I know I try to look at what does Dr. Pepper do for charity. That's how I kind of broach every situation, looking at all the groups corporately and what do they give back to the community. And then I start with that and have that conversation with my partners or my colleagues and clients that I deal with and saying, okay, great, I know you support this foundation, but hey, is it any thought or any way you can support the Lupus Foundation? And these are why the great things you can get out of it. And that's kind of how I go with corporately. I also work closely with other organizations, Madison Square Garden being another one. And through just my partnership there, they do a lot of give backs, but getting in early to corporations is always key. And that's one thing I would say to everyone. When you're trying to get those corporate sponsors, be mindful because of the fact that they do have budgets that they have to hit, and sometimes their money is going early on. So the earlier you can get out to people that you might know, sending the letters out, but also too, if you have that personal connection with someone, you know, someone you may know may work at a big corporation, whether it be Saks or whether it be Xerox, whatever that is. And if you have that getting to those guys early and, you know, telling your story and telling why it's important, wherever you're walking for this. But also, too, if you do not have that connection and you just go in blindly and you say, hey, you know what, I want this particular corporation to do some more things with lupus. Getting those letters out as soon as possible, I think, was very important, so that way you can get in and get, whether it be whatever donation they can give you. And if it's not for the year that you're walking, at least you get in the door and get that relationship started, so it could be for the next year as well. And that's how it usually works for me. I try to really talk to all of my partners, all of my clients and colleagues, and say, hey guys, this is what I'm doing. Is it any way you can help? Be a part of this, and this is why it's been great. And also, too, letting them know about the LFA, because you'd be surprised as many people do not know what lupus is still. And sometimes it's good because they want an education. They want to understand what it is and what you're going through, what your family and friends are going through, and why you're doing this. And you'd be surprised as much feedback you'll get and support. So that's how I started.
Well, thank you, Rasheda. And you bring up an important point. When you're approaching your company and your colleagues for support, are there any HR rules within your company, or have you had to go through any process to be able to solicit for the walk at work?
For me, in the beginning, we couldn't put up any kind of material in our, common areas. that was just a no, because there's so many organizations the companies support, but there are also a million other organizations that people support. So you have to kind of do your one-on-one recognizance. So what I do is that I work, directly with the sports team. So I send out my mass email, and that's fine. We can email each other about any kind of organizations. And I'll email my group of 500 people that I deal with on a daily basis. So that email goes out to a mass kind of group. We do have a lot of rules of things that we cannot do, but you have to, play within the guidelines. It doesn't mean I can't go talk to, Joe in finance about my walk, and that gets out to his group, and have a smaller, meeting with the team. Hey guys, I'm doing this walk, would love for you to be a part of it. So kind of that's how you maneuver. You find a way to do things still in the standards of following your corporate regulations, but it doesn't hurt for you to have those face-to-face or that one-on-one email. But we do have restrictions of certain things we can and can't do. And it's really about putting any kind of flyers or things up. But I do maneuver around that. And I think because just having the relationships that you've built throughout the years, that helps as well. But it doesn't hurt to get in front of people as well. I think that's what's important too. An email does go a long way, but if you can, and you'd be surprised, and I found out that if I talk to Monica today, and then it may jog something, go, hey, a friend of mine was diagnosed, or I know someone, oh wait, I heard about lupus. And that conversation gets started, and then you'll get the donations or support even, because that's what's important as well as you move forward.
You're really right, Rasheda. Even through corporations, it's a grassroots effort. And I think that's what we have here at the Lupus Foundation, and we've grown because of people talking to other people. Now, thinking about your matching gifts, you've been very successful in securing some of those as well. What is it like to wrangle some of your team members or some of your donors to fill out that form?
Oh, it's very easy because I'm so territorial that I do everything. So I give my team, the less they have to do, the better. So anything I fill out, I even register my whole team, and my team sometimes is 50 plus. So I have them do nothing, just show up. So when it even comes down to that, I help them. I try to give people as less work that they have to do to make sure that it gets done, because sometimes what happens is that we want people to come and support us, and you want that matching gift because that's really important. If you start out with 500 and the company's going to match that. So what I do is try to fill out everything that I can on my end to help out, and then really stay on top of my team members if they're getting a matching gift. And even with my company, going into them and making sure my paperwork is in at the proper deadline, making sure everything is completely filled out, so that way you don't have to go back, because any time is lost time. You want to get those donations in, and you want to get that matching gift in, because as you guys know, work with corporations to get a matching gift, it doesn't happen in a day. It takes some time. Some companies are quicker than others. But as much information as you get filled out so you don't have to go back and forth, it's great. Get it complete, and also stand on top of your team members.
Great. Well, that's fantastic, Rasheda. Go Team Indigo Blue. And I am pleased to announce we have Shauna back on the line. I think there was some technical difficulty, but Shauna, do you want to share some of your efforts with corporate donations?
Yeah, absolutely. And apologies for that technical glitch there. And thank you for having me on the call, and for everybody who's joining. My personal connection to lupus is that I have lupus, and I usually kick off my kind of request campaign every year through social media, but also leveraging my corporate network. I've worked at large corporations for several years and have built up a pretty robust network of individuals who, by virtue of having worked either still with those corporations or now moved on to other large corporations that have generous matching gift programs, I really hone in on those individuals who I know have double and sometimes triple matching gifts. So I generally kick off my campaign ask with a story about why I walk, which is for me, and also my daughter, who's 7 and is starting to display the same symptoms and have the same kind of lupus markers that I do in my blood. And I start to talk about our story and how, the time it took me to get diagnosed, I think now if that's the case for my daughter, was all well spent. And I put the personal angle, and then I go for that corporate friends angle of, I know you have double matching, or in the case of the few people who have the triple matching, don't forget this year that your company is willing to give any money against what you give. And that is free money. It is essential for Lupus Foundation America and to get the research and the funding for what we need to find a cure, and generally start that campaign. I am very persistent, so people hear from me throughout my campaign period of usually a month. This one was just a couple weeks, but for the last year, but previously starting about a month in advance or so. I will be very persistent in my social media and my LinkedIn and people at work who I sit with directly during the day. I also recruit people that I work with to be my team members. So every year, except for my very first year, my team members have included my family and then my coworkers. We usually in the corporate level get some sort of benefit also for volunteering and being on teams, whether it's a few hours donated to a charity for the time, or recognition at the corporate level for those teams and those groups at the corporation that do involve themselves in things like walks and charitable organizations. So there's a secondary kind of plug there for the people that I work with, that they get recognition from the company as well for being in that circle of kind of the stewards of charitable giving and donating.
Well, thank you, Shauna. This is really great advice. And I love that you use LinkedIn, because I think, you know, when people talk about social media, they often forget that. And it's an important channel, especially if you have a lot of, a big network of associations that you work with. So
absolutely.
Oh, sorry.
Yep, go ahead.
Shauna, do you have anything you want to close with?
Oh, no, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. So for corporate support, we have some advice as part of our all-star strategy. One, ask your employer. Ask them about a corporate sponsorship or even a team. It's something that can increase team unity. And maybe it's that your employer just wants to add to your team, but it never hurts to ask. And corporations have a lot of money to spend. They want to support philanthropic causes. They have wellness programs. You can also host an education program at your company. Monique, who's on this call, has led quite a few lunch and learns. Rasheda has spoken at corporate events. And it's something that just helps to spread that education and awareness. Host a bagel breakfast or bring an afternoon sweet treat at work to create interest in your team. One of the best pieces of advice, and I repeat this all the time, was early in my career, a young man, he posted in the kitchen at work, brownies in my office. And he was swarmed, and as soon as people came in for a brownie, he handed them a registration and donation form for the walk he was doing at the time. You can't imagine how something small like that can make a difference. And of course, maximize matching gifts. Ask all of your team members, ask all of your donors if their company matches. It's an easy way to double your funds. And enlist help from your team members and your donors. Ask them where they work. Ask them if they know of a company that would support your walk effort. Again, it never hurts to ask. So with that, I am going to turn the next section over to Courtney, who's going to talk about fundraising events.